Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Monday Show of Victory. How many times can you personally think of when both the Cavs and the Browns win on the same day? I know Ohio State couldn't make it to trifecta, and that disappointed a lot of you. But hey, 2 wins in Cleveland, I'll definitely take that. Joining me on the program, Tony the Calf. And there's our friend John in Florida. Are you with us, John? Yes. All right. All right. You look mummified there, John. I mean, all right. There you go. All right.
No.
Yeah, we got Topaz out on a walk right now. So, I wanted to start out the program. Winning puts me in a giddy mood. And, sometimes being giddy, I choose a different kind of story to lead the program with. And today, with the help of David Talevsky, who sends me some really interesting stuff, and some of the women in the pictures, too, yowza. He sends me very interesting stuff. Somebody named Castle Will Kill sent out an email, listen to me, a tweet to Lamar Jackson. Nothing unusual. When somebody loses, there's always somebody on social media to rub it in. It went something like this. When someone is asking for over $250 million guaranteed, like Lamar Jackson, games like this should not come down to Tucker, the kicker. Let Lamar walk and spend that money on a well-rounded team. I mean, that sounds like a reasonable request. Other quarterbacks in the past have done this before. It's not unusual. In fact, I could make the argument that Bernie Kosar did that with Cleveland. They defer some of their money so that the team has more stuff to, money to work with and get players. But Lamar Jackson responded to the tweet and said, "Boys, shut the fuck up. Y'all be capping too much on this app. Motherfucker, never smelt a football field, never did shit, but eat dick." And that is from his real account. Real class. Overrated. I don't see Shipley here. Where are you? Eat a dick, Shipley. This is what winning does to me. I want to get all this out of my system. That's your quarterback who cares about your team. Oh, my God. But that's not the end of the story. It would be one thing if that was all there was. But wait, there's more. The next story follows by saying Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson met after the out of character tweet. Oh, come on. That is not out of his character. He is the most egotistical guy who thinks he's Superman that I've ever seen. My God, he makes Cam Newton look shy in comparison. He has such a high opinion of himself that, God forbid, anybody should suggest that he just take some of that money and make his team better. Oh, he tells people to go eat a dick. So I'm going to change the headline on ESPN to Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson met after eat a dick tweet. Let's call it what it is. So I'll quote this too. Baltimore Ravens coach John Harbaugh said Monday that Lamar Jackson's vulgar response to a critic on social media was out of character for the Pro Bowl quarterback, suggesting Jackson got trapped by someone baiting him. Well, if you got trapped by some idiot on Twitter, what's your Wonderlic score? I mean, what are you doing cruising Twitter, for God's sakes? 19 years ago, I started this program. You know what I got from people? Oh, there's that fat guy in his mother's basement. That's all people ever have done on social media. They just start trouble. And you're above that, man. You're just above that. You don't have to answer to that. But if somebody can get trapped, what in the hell is Bill Belichick going to do on the field against that player to get into their head? If it's that easy to get into Lamar Jackson's head, not only is he not worth $250 million, anyone can have him. They can just have him. I'd rather have Deshaun Watson. That's right. Because you may not like the way he comported himself personally, but you're telling me that you think that Lamar Jackson comports himself well? Oh, this is great for the league, isn't it? Now he's going to become the highest paid quarterback. Doesn't that make the league feel great? And Harbaugh said he spoke to Jackson on Monday morning about the social media exchange. He also said, as an aside, but I explained it to him very slowly because he doesn't understand things very well. Here's the quote. I just beg guys to not get into the Twitter world right after the game, especially after a loss, Harbaugh said. It's never going to be positive. It's not going to be a nice place, you know? That's kind of reflected in Lamar's response because that's not the way he speaks. It's not the way he talks. It's not the words he ever uses. I never heard him say things like that before. It's like, now, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. You're really laying it on thick now. You never heard him say motherfucker. To me, this whole thing is ridiculous. And Harbaugh, I mean, Harbaugh knows about people insulting people on Twitter. He doesn't respond to the fact that he's never developed a forward passing game and that he relies on his defense that gives up 28 points to the Jacksonville Jaguars. But you know something? I'm laughing my ass off at them. And I'm laughing my ass off at Joe Shipley, specifically. Because of all the people who come into this show, of all the people, everybody here is cool, man. Not that guy. That guy comes in and just tries to punk everything in Cleveland. Well, now it's your turn. Eat a dick. By snapping back shortly after that tweet with a profane reply, claiming that the fan never smelt a football field, he then added an anti-gay phrase. You eat dick! Yep. Great. And of course, Jackson's tweet was deleted after 3.5 hours. Here's Harbaugh continuing to lay it on thick. Lamar Jackson, you've been around him. He's got one of the biggest hearts of anybody I know. You've all seen him, the way he treats people, the way he treats kids, the way he treats the media. He's also one of the biggest competitors I've ever met. So those kind of conversations he takes very seriously. You get trapped by someone that's baiting you just a little bit, and you can't live there. I think that's not a place he wants to be, and that's certainly not things that he wants to say. I think it's exactly what he wants to say. And he's telling the Ravens to eat dick because he won't sign a goddamn contract to play with them, and he's hanging them out to dry. He should be worried about winning a goddamn championship. He should be worried about getting through the rest of the season and getting into the playoffs. But he's only thinking about himself. That is who he is. Talented? Oh, yes. I still say he's one scramble away from a bad injury. Meanwhile, the venerable pillar of propriety, Jackson was visibly irritated during his presser after the game after another uneven performance by his offense. The Ravens were only 2 of 5 in the red zone and had to settle for 3 short Tucker field goals to the first half. That kept the Jags in the game. He wants to win. I'm sure he's frustrated, just like we all are. You know, Baker Mayfield was frustrated too, the way the press treated him. And all the Browns fans who loved him, all that loved him, protected him. They said, you know, he hasn't come out and said something like telling somebody to eat a dick. Hi, Joe, eat a dick. He didn't. He walked into this. You see, Joe didn't know what was going to go down. Now you know what's going down, Joe. Lamar Jackson's going down, and I know you're going down on him. I get it. Oh, when I win, I want to be as bad a winner as you are, Joe. But to every other team, I feel sorry. I actually feel good for the Jaguars, not because they beat the Ravens. Anybody can beat the Ravens on any given day. They're not that good. No, I keep saying nobody in the AFC North. And I wanted to say, what about Bob, who's commenting? I'm sorry that I keep calling it the Central. It is the AFC North, and I do know that. Oh, my God. You know, to me, it's unbelievable. This is your guy. This is the next superstar of the NFL, and he can't even take a little criticism, and he still won't commit. And that's what the bottom line is. Overrated. 1-3 record in the playoffs. Baker has as many wins as he does. Never has more been said about less than Lamar Jackson. And I think he's talented as hell. But everyone wanted him to be something, and he was never a great throwing quarterback when he was where? At Louisville? Is that where he played?
Yeah.
So, thanks, Dave. How old is your dad, David? And yes, I will use that as an excuse, you know? You know, brain cells. You know, I'd like to tell you that we all get smarter as we get older, but science tells us the brain cells dwindle as we get older. Hey, that's funny. When I get compared to other people's dads, it's like, nah. So I got that out of my system. Now, as for the Cleveland Browns, this is a fun week. Hey, so you're younger than I am, David. It happens. We feel bad for Joshua Dobbs, who never got a chance to do what he may have had the ability or not to do. The Browns have officially... Say what?
Did they cut Dobbs or something?
Yeah, they waived him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they waived him because they've officially activated Deshaun Watson, and they, and they're going to ride it out with their 2 quarterbacks, and they're not, and again,
slightly surprising considering how broken down Brissett is. But
well, I mean, the thing is that Joshua Dobbs will get signed to be on a practice squad somewhere, but it's going to give him an opportunity to get a head start on looking for employment elsewhere in the league. And I think he's a smart young man. I think he's underarmed, as far as arm strength is concerned, but I think he's a very bright guy. And from what I've seen of backup quarterbacks in the NFL this year, I think that, he could hold his own.
But he's bald.
Huh?
He's bald. He's got no hair. He's got no hair anywhere in his face.
And what's that have to do with the price of tea in China?
what?
No.
Okay.
Nothing.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Just an observation.
He bathes in depilatory. What can I tell you? But I mean, for me, we never got to see what he could do in a real game, so we'll never know. But the fact that Deshaun Watson has been activated, now the countdown begins. Not the countdown as far as are we going to win out or anything like that, because that's not going to happen. We don't have a good enough offense, a good enough defense to win out. And we're playing a lot of good teams. But what I want to see more than anything is what I wanted to see post Baker Mayfield, because there's nobody, you notice how it's all quieted down about Baker? All those people who are like, Baker's got an 11-inch dick, all those people, they've just kind of turned into mumbles. They change the subject. They want to talk about something else. But the truth is that I wanted to wait about Baker Mayfield because I felt that the Browns did not handle his situation well, and I don't feel he really did a good job either. I think each side was their own worst enemy. But I wanted to see Baker Mayfield play elsewhere. Now, elsewhere, I wouldn't say that being a Carolina Panther is the best place that you want to land. But still, he was as terrible there as he was when he was injured here. All right?
Mm-hmm.
You can waive the injury. Oh, but Baker was hurt and they made him play. It's like, ask Baker now if he'll play. Oh, he'd play under any circumstance because a quarterback just simply can't get the attention of a team that might be interested in him if he doesn't play well. How is the video stream holding up, folks? Because I'm having a problem with StreamYard, and they are looking at the problem. We determined that my setup, it's not the computer, it's not the connection speed, it's not anything on my end. I believe it's something. Say what?
It seems fine in the studio.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing my signal strength still dropping below what it should be when I have like 350 a download and 24 upload. That's I don't know, and I'm Ethernet connected. So
you're not freezing like you were last show.
Yeah, let me know in the chat room. It would be great if somebody could just say it's freezing if that's the case, so that I will know to tell them, because I have a ticket, a special a little ticket that they set up for me in StreamYard to see what the issue is. What I did is simply plugged the camera into another port, and I've done nothing else. So we'll see. But, Deshaun Watson, I want to see what he looks like cold 2 years off with lousy receivers. Well, one good receiver, one really mediocre guy, and one tight end who made a great left-handed catch in the game on Sunday.
If there was ever a better judgment, it's this weekend. 'Cause boy, that Texans team stinks.
Well,
Or Steven Rose. I mean, that team's bad.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something else. I mean, and I'll just make brief mention of this. The Cavaliers played as bad a basketball team in the Pistons yesterday as you could play, and they almost lost. So it was only not the grace of God, but the grace of just how sheerly bad, Thanks, Keith. Keep me appraised. I guess I don't know. I'm interested in seeing what Deshaun Watson will do with the same cast of characters that Jacoby Brissett had. I want to see if there is any second and third read availability, if he is in a position after 2 years off where he can make those reads, or if his timing is going to be completely off. I would think this is going to be like a preseason game for him, and that it's going to be tough getting up to speed. But he has 6 games, excuse me, to be able to show what he's got. And we'll see if he improves over that time. Well, you know, all the things that people have said, I only look at what I see, the eye test. What the eye test in the game yesterday told me was that Tom Brady's old and is really fading quickly, that for some reason they stopped trying to run the football, which I question what Todd Bowles is thinking, knowing that the Browns had caved, and in the beginning of the game they gave up a long run to start out the game. Why they weren't trying to run the ball more, even though I know this season they've had trouble and they didn't have Leonard Fournette, but still, I'm wondering why in the hell wouldn't you try running the ball and mixing that in? The game was close all the way through. They wanted to ride Tom Brady, but Tom Brady ain't the horse he used to be.
No.
No. The eye test told me that we were trying to cover Godwin with a guy named Graham Jr.
Who?
If number 31, old Frank Minifield's old number. Yep. I don't know.
Sounds like you should be writing ballads.
Yeah, I don't even know who this guy was, where he came from, and he's got to be as far down on the ladder as you could imagine. And he was forced into the game, and he was playing mano-a-mano coverage against Godwin. Those plays that you were seeing from the third quarter on, where Godwin would be over the middle, he was covering him every time.
Oh.
And that's why Godwin was having some success. The guy, he never played all year. I don't even know who he is. Lou Graham. No, that would be all foreigner to me.
Wasn't it Autogram? Oh, wait, no. He's.
Yeah, right. No, Telegram. So, my feeling is Todd Bowles is a defensive coach, and he has turned the Buccaneers into a team that is a lower scoring team. But again, I think Brady calls the shots, and this is what they got, and it wasn't very pretty. And I think the Browns played hard. For the most part, there weren't blown assignments. It's one thing to be on an island with a guy like Mike Evans, and he beats you by a step, but it's an incomplete pass. But you're right there, like a half a step or a step behind him. You're at least knowing where you're supposed to be, and you didn't give up the reception. And Emerson tried to stay as close to him as he possibly could. There's a big difference between that and guys being wide open, kind of like what happened at the end of the game. That guy, I don't even know who the defender was on that play, but oh my God, Amari Cooper twisted him into a pretzel. Yeah, and that was more like what the Browns do, except that there would be nobody even covering him from the line of scrimmage with the Browns. I didn't see that kind of stuff going on. So I give, and this is a very good statistic. I mean, out of 9 targets, only 2 receptions for Mike Evans. That's a hell of a job by Martin Emerson. Hell of a job. We talked about that after the game. And
seems like the kid is making strides and getting better.
Well, and it's a matter of having the guts, to be able, the conviction to be able to stand your ground and play, and not, like so many guys that we've seen in the past, just giving an enormous cushion to people, giving far too much respect for players instead of just going out and playing the game. And I give the Browns credit, because when it looked like it was absolutely over, that pass, if you watch that play again, that was like a hitched throw. He's going to let it go, and he thought better of it, and then he let it go. And it was behind. It was way high and to the left, and he had to go up and snare it with one hand. But
the Njoku catch?
yeah. I mean, you watch that replay, it wasn't like stare and throw. It was stare, like a little quick hitch, and then he threw. And we know that can be very dangerous because a lot can happen in a split second. But the ball got caught, and it got caught by a guy who for 6 years we've been hearing about, God, this is the best tight end we've had since Ozzie Newsome. And it's like, he's not making me even think about Ozzie Newsome.
Right.
I mean, but this...
More Ozzy Osbourne than Ozzie Newsome.
Exactly right. So... I guess he, like Myles Garrett, made a play when it counted. I give them credit. That's what teams of character do, and we haven't been seeing that from the Browns. So it was a nice sight to see.
Oh, yeah, you know that Browns teams of the past, that ball would have sailed 10 feet over his fucking head, and it would have been, game over.
Or he just would have put up his left hand and batted it down because, I mean, that's really a tough catch. I mean, I don't know if you threw that 50 times that he'd catch it more than once. I've never seen the Chief to be known as the one-handed catch guy. I've seen him have trouble with two hands. Earlier in the game, he had trouble with two hands. So that was pretty remarkable. So, I give all the credit in the world to the Cleveland Browns, and no credit to the Buccaneers. And I give no credit to Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. I don't, the people who deserve credit in the end are teams like the Jaguars, who had to put up with all that Urban Meyer shit. Do you know how that can demoralize an organization? And
demoralize a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, who's actually turning out to be a half decent quarterback in the NFL.
The scheme is so important, and getting a coach in there who understands what it is to be a quarterback. I think that it's a big thing and a big change, and it takes a long time to gel as a team. Sometimes it never happens. Some guys just aren't good enough. Other quarterbacks like Steve Young had to go to a better football team to prove that he really was a smart and capable quarterback, because it was never going to happen on the old Buccaneers teams back when with John McKay. It was never going to happen. So that's and what they're saying, because I felt bad when Tristan Wirfs went down, and
apparently his injury isn't as bad as they thought.
And I'm very happy to hear that. I hate to see guys get hurt. He's a very good player, and we had a shot at taking him,
Yeah.
and he went before we were able to pick. We could have moved up for him, but he's turned out to be an extremely reliable offensive lineman, and it was a fluke thing. Koromoa was blocked into the back of his leg, and that's how it happens to linemen, getting rolled over from behind or the side. And knee injuries are, unfortunately, to the slowest moving men on the field, get caught in traffic, and then that's it.
They're big bovines.
Yep, and they are bred and fed. I mean, they are. Look at Joe Thomas. My God, how much weight he lost. To keep his weight at 305 pounds, back when he was playing in his playing days, he explained that he was eating some inordinate number of calories per day, some like 12,000 calories, with some crazy number, and it wasn't healthy.
No,
It wasn't healthy at all. So, I'm glad to see that that he's not badly hurt. And before we leave Martin Emerson, this is how you make a name for yourself. And I think that they're going to throw the ball at him. And now, because you know how it works, everyone's watching film on everyone else. And it's like, shit, go after Denzel Ward. He's playing cushion football. And I don't understand what's
Ward's
happened
not
to him.
good.
What happened to him?
Huh? He got that money, and it happens to too many players in all of sports. Really, they get paid, and their game goes right to shit.
And the more they throw at Emerson, the better he's going to get. Because I remember when Hanford Dixon was a rookie, and oh, wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. When Hanford Dixon was a rookie. Making sure that I got that right.
Chewbacca.
And where did he play? Like at Southern Mississippi or some such place? It was not one of those big schools. And he played his rookie year, and he was in the ballpark, man. I mean, he never looked overmatched. He got picked on a little as a rookie, but I said, if you can come out of that position and you're an island defender and you look pretty good as a rookie, that step from year 1 to year 2 is going to be very significant. Thanks, Greg. I thought it was Southern Miss. And I've seen this before, with Joe Hayden. It was like Joe Hayden in his rookie year was like, wow. I mean, it's kind of like watching Emerson here. He's around the ball. He, even when he gets beat, he's still trying to get a hand in there to rip the thing away. And the funny thing is that both Hayden and Hanford Dixon were not interception guys. They didn't pick off many passes. I mean, in the Brown scheme back when it was the Dogs and Hanford Dixon, it was guys like Tom Darden and all who were getting the interceptions. It wasn't Hanford Dixon, and it also, it wasn't Joe Hayden getting the picks. It was Felix Wright. Is that right? But
Eric Wright, not Felix Wright. Jesus Christ.
Say what?
Isn't it Eric Wright and Joe Hayden?
No, Felix Wright.
No, Felix Wright.
Oh, I thought Felix Wright was from the 70s.
No. But again, what it boils down to is some guys are just great island defenders, and what you're paying them for is to prevent passes from being completed downfield. Turnovers are great, but stops, in my mind, are every bit as good. Give me more stops. More cowbell. And for Njoku, I'm glad that he finally did something that would indicate that he's thinking about Ozzie Newsome. Really nice. Oh, and a Joe Shipley eat a dick. Okay. And again, and I'll repeat about Myles Garrett. When you make big plays at a big time in the game, you're going to get nothing but praise from me. If you shoot your mouth off all the time and you're invisible in the pinch at the end of a game, then you're going to hear from me about it. But I'm not going to get rude, because the fact is, I'm sure Myles Garrett is a very nice guy. And I wanted to point out also the fact that I know he left, but he's vain enough, Keith, that Joe Shipley will watch what I had to say afterwards. Yeah. Right now, he's shooting into a tissue. Oh, by the way, we're 34 minutes into this hate fest. Oh, I love it. But, don't brag about things until you've really walked the walk. Jacoby Brissett is a nice guy. And I'm not going to tell you that he's anything but what he is. But him getting that game football probably meant the world to him after the game. And the fact that he stepped up in a difficult situation, God only knows how fucked up the Browns have been this year. The defense never lent him a hand. And I agree with somebody back in yesterday's show who said he could have won 5 or 6 games, if the defense had just shown up, that he put up good enough numbers to justify a win. I think he did everything that he could within his power, and played at his peak ability as a first timer in in an offensive scheme that was at best confusing to the people who were playing it. And I really think that and all the teammates say that he's a great guy. And I think every Browns fan should thank him for stepping up and taking the heat and never losing his composure and telling fans to go eat a dick, and to keep a smile and a positive attitude, and to keep coming back and doing the best he could, because it gets ugly in Ohio. It really does. And I don't know where the anger comes from. But the fact of the matter is, there's something about having, humor and grace under fire. And I think that Jacoby Brissett deserves that. And you never know. You never know what's going to happen. Quarterback, Deshaun Watson could go down with an early injury and he could be back on the field. The fact is, I wouldn't feel so terrible with him coming into a game if I just felt better about the team's defensive situation.
Yeah, I'm going to say, Brissett, we got a bona fide backup quarterback for the first time in Cleveland in a long time. Don't we?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's, again, you compare him to other quarterbacks. I do think that he could start for another team, but he would invariably end up as the second guy.
Yeah.
But he's a solid second guy because he's battle tested and he's tough.
Yep.
He got up after every hit. He didn't sit there and just say, bring in Dobbs. Things aren't going well. The guys are running the wrong way. Guys are jumping off sides. They're not lining up correctly. He stood and took the heat at press conferences week after week after week for things that were not his fault. If you said to me that a player was a really good football player but didn't have the greatest speed in the world, I wouldn't be sitting there and saying, pissing and moaning about his lack of speed any more than I gravitate toward Anthony Schwartz's speed when he has no hands. People don't have everything. And the things that Jacoby Brissett have, those things are a cool head, a steady attitude. He's got a good arm in short and mid-range. He's not as accurate deep as other quarterbacks I've seen. And he doesn't really read the field beyond 1, maybe 2 reads. He's got a slightly slow read, and he has a little bit of a long delivery. That's who he is. That's what he's got. But still, if I have a defense that I know would play like they did against the 49-year-old Tom Brady, 56-year-old Tom Brady, then if I knew we were going to get the ball back, I wouldn't feel so bad. But every goddamn offensive possession this team has to be good, because the way the defense is played, it's been like a sieve, just getting run through. So, that can't fall on Brissett's shoulders. It can't. And I never put it on Baker Mayfield's shoulders either. My only thing is when I look at Baker Mayfield's comment, I guess I woke up feeling dangerous. It's a shame you didn't wake up feeling that way more often. The fact of the matter is you're supposed to wake up feeling the same every time you play. You're young. You're in your prime. Consistency. And I'll say this for Brissett. You look at his numbers, if you're doing it strictly analytically, and you look at his career, his completion percentage is higher than his career here in Cleveland. And one thing you can say, whatever the scheme is, Stefanski sure got it out of Case Keenum, didn't he?
Hey, Moo,
Yeah.
I did explain the Browns' first drive every game, and then 35 minutes before they score again. I mean, what's a dealio?
Well, here's what I think. And I'll answer it by bringing up another thing that's similar to me. Back when Freddie Kitchens, before he was the head coach and he was handed the reins to be offensive coordinator and pick the plays from the previous offensive coordinator's playbook. And we were wondering, it's like, this guy should have been able to do, create better playbook than this. And then all of a sudden, Freddie Kitchens starts picking the plays, and even he was smart enough to know that he picked the plays that the guys felt confident in running. He communicated with the players, and those are the plays they executed the best. I really believe that when he stands at practice, watching these guys practice, there are certain plays that the players on the field understand what their responsibilities are and what they're supposed to do. And it's like precision. And they come out in the field, they execute that in the beginning of the game. But, you can only have so many of those plays, and eventually you go deeper into the playbook, and the guys aren't that familiar with it. The case of Freddie Kitchens, all of a sudden Baker Mayfield became Baker Mayfield because they're suddenly running plays that the players understood. And as soon as the next year went down, he got named head coach, all those plays disappeared, and Freddie started drawing shit in the dirt. And that certainly didn't, and maybe it appealed to Baker's sense of winging it, but the bottom line is we lost. We didn't do well. So my belief is the scripted plays or the team does best. Go ahead, Tony.
Oh, I didn't say anything. I think John was going to say something.
Now, I was going to say, so you think the defense adjusted that quickly after the first drive?
No, I don't think that adjustments could be made at halftime, but not in the first and second quarter. I think that it's a matter of once they have to get away from the plays that they really banged hard and practiced, that they're suddenly running plays that they're not that familiar with, or they are not executing as well. Yeah. I don't give, when team after team after team is able to do this against the Browns, the onus is on the Browns, not on the team they're playing.
Right.
It looks like they're not doing the plays. They're not running the plays the way they're supposed to be run. That's my take.
Well, script past the first 12 plays, get into 24 plays. I don't know.
Well, what you need to do is you have to establish an identity and a toughness. Yeah. And again, we started succeeding. And, the statistic they flashed on the screen, which I didn't talk about yesterday, was that when Nick Chubb touched the ball more than 20 times in a game, the Browns were undefeated.
Yep.
And he was at 19 when they flashed the graphic. Then his next run was like a little short 3-yard run. But after that, there were 6 more carries, and he broke one of them, 2 of them, and he ends up with 111 or 116, whatever yards he ended up with. And, the thing that's mystifying is I don't understand if you're going to bring in Kareem Hunt and continue to bring him in for no reason. and run him east-west, not throw screen passes, not to get him on wheel patterns, to isolate him on linebackers, take advantage of who he is and what his natural skill set is, you might as well be bringing, Dearness Johnson or bringing Ford into the game or whatever. You have to rest Chubb. I get it. You want him to have a longish career for a running back. So that's what you do. He can't, but in the end, he had to come out just because he was exhausted because they were running him all the time. And it's like all or nothing sometimes it feels. And there isn't a balance that keeps people guessing. Very strange.
I'd love to see Ford in there.
Yeah, I would say that Ford, from what I've seen of him in the preseason and returning kicks, is kind of like a poor man's Ernest Biner. He's shifty.
Yeah.
And, we've had a few guys like that. I mean, Duke Johnson was really shifty, but he got hurt if you just looked at him funny. But, I think that Ford has the ability to be and I think that's why Dearness Johnson will be gone. I think Ford will be elevated. Then we'll have no kick returner again, right? Unless the guy we got from the Bears heals. And this made me wonder too. Sometimes I wonder too, Keith, whether they were running plays that they didn't practice that much. That he, there was something that Stefanski said in his presser, and he said that about going for the 2 at the end of the game, that he had actually considered going for 2 to end the game there. He goes, he thought it over, and 2 reasons why he didn't. One, he said the defense was stopping them and giving the offense the ball back. He goes, and second of all, I looked at the play, and it wasn't a play that the guys really felt good with back when I created it. I mean, these are the things that make you wonder. They all told him at the time, it's not a very good play. Van Pelt told him it's not a very good play. But he was going to pull that one play in that important situation, and thank God he didn't pull that trigger. And that's the problem with Stefanski. He doesn't think I think he believes he's flawless. When he threw that flag early in the game, the challenge flag on the spot when Njoku went out of bounds after catching a pass, did you see him prancing like an Ivy League boy? And did you see how he threw it to the ground? He went,
yeah.
I mean, what the fuck? I mean, come on, get sweaty, get dirty. For God's sakes. I mean, we're skipping rope.
Hey, Moo, what do you think about at the end of the game where, and I felt the same way, all of a sudden they're kind of hesitant about bringing New York in for the field goal to win it. He's all of a sudden become a liability.
Well, hold on a minute here. There was something else that was sent to me by David Talevsky that I thought was very, very interesting. And that is the notion that putting the blame on Cade York, when Jay Feely, place kicker, said, and he cited 2 kickers, and I don't remember because I'm not having this right in front of me, and maybe I can get it in front of me. No, I'm not getting that. Damn. But that there were 2 kickers, and it was in both instances, they had poor percentages, and Bohorquez was the holder.
Ah.
And yeah, that kind of made me feel like
Bohorquez's problem.
Right. I mean, it made me wonder. It really made me wonder.
It's just not good.
No, I mean, and that's something that timing is essential.
Hmm.
So I'm not going to sit there and say that the guy sucks.
Iffy.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I know, or what I wonder about. But it was good information. What is the future with JB Bickerstaff and the Browns? No, with Jacoby Brissett and the Browns. He's their backup quarterback. And I think that he's a guy who will genuinely enjoy his time in Cleveland. That's what I think, because I think that he's not a complainer. He's not a whiner. He's not looking to, he's not like Garcia was when he was with the Browns and other quarterbacks who just wanted to get it back on the field at all costs. He's not that guy, And this question go ahead, Tony.
I don't see Jacoby Brissett here past this year. And I'll say this. I think he did enough to get a job somewhere in the NFL as a starter. I mean, there's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks.
Well, but you know something? Teams that need quarterbacks that bad want to lose so they can draft one high.
Yeah.
I mean, everything that I've seen when a team just goes into the bucket, like the Jags did to get Trevor Lawrence, like the Bears did to get Justin Fields. I'm not sure whether that works out or not.
You look at the team that you played yesterday. You got to believe Tom Brady's not coming back next year.
You got to believe that. That's right.
And they're not going to be that bad to where they're going to get one of the top quarterbacks.
Well, you bring up a point, but you know something? I mean, it's like bringing Jameis Winston back to town or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to sit there and tell you that, when the Saints said, well, it's going to be Jameis Winston, it's like, oh, no.
But, there's always those teams like the Colts are going to be, do you keep the ageless blunder, as I call him, Matt Ryan? Or do you, you're not going to be that terrible where you're going to get a top 40, try and salvage something.
And that's why, they'll live with a backup and have the worst record in the league so they can draft somebody high. I mean, one season is worth a throwaway if you have a chance at a quarterback. And when Tom Brady's gone, it will just reinforce how great Brady was, that the Bucs went to shit when he went away. And they'll have to be in the market for a quarterback. And again, in a 17-game season, honestly, Jacoby Brissett can win 7 games, 8 games, and that puts you right in that hole forever.
Right.
Right now it's you want to suck as bad as you can suck. Does Hunt have any trade value? No.
Not a chance in hell.
No, because they didn't use him, and they're, a team's going to be looking for a bargain, and I hope he finds his way someplace. I think that's great. Right now, the Browns didn't utilize him. But the Browns have to try to find some way to add to kind of 3rd round, 4th round picks that they always fuck up. I do want to point out something, though, and it's the only thing I'll say about draft this early in the process. If you were willing to spend a 4th on Perion Winfrey, knowing what kind of a head case this guy was, all right, then I don't mind if you want to go ahead and invest in a wide receiver who's a head case in college, but gifted and talented. I mean, at least give me production, and even if it's not permanent production, give me something out of somebody. And the Browns are going to be in a position to trade people for 4th round picks, let somebody slide because of their character or whatever. We got to have another wide receiver on the field who threatens the defense besides Amari Cooper. You saw that Amari Cooper, when he caught that ball, the safety angled him off and caught him before he went into the end zone. He's not that fast. He's a great route runner.
No.
But we could use somebody who was, and I hate bringing up bad names like Josh Gordon, but, when he was hot stuff at Baylor, I remember when I watched him for the first time, I said, how do we get our hands on this guy? Well, then it became evident why.
Oh, yeah.
But still, he put up a lot of production, and that's what the team needs. And
Travis Benjamin.
Let
him go.
To a lesser degree, as a receiver, he wasn't durable. He was a kick returner to me.
Yeah.
But I know that he could catch passes, but that's not what we need. We need another guy who's a kind of a guy who's a prototype, bigger, faster guy. And the only way you're going to find a guy like that in the third or fourth round is if there are some real question marks about him. But I'm willing to take that chance, because if you took that chance on Perion Winfrey, Jesus Christ, you should be willing to take that choice, that whole perspective onto the wide receiver position.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I mean, Greg, you're absolutely right. Bojorquez has always had a really good average punt up there, 47, 48 yards. And you're like, why did they get rid of him?
Bojorquez didn't come from Buffalo. He came from Green Bay, right?
But he also,
He's been around.
He's been around. He's bounced to two or three teams.
Yeah.
And it wasn't clear why that good of a leg was still available. Whatever happened to Gillen, the guy who used to play for the Browns? Is he out of the league?
I just looked him up. He went to damn it.
No, he's
God damn it.
He's the Giants punter.
Yeah.
How is he doing?
Let me get his stats here.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh no, that's his height and weight. We don't want that. He is career stats. He has 43 punts for 2,052 yards.
What's his average?
Net average of 47.7 yards.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a booming leg, but and David is saying what I said in yesterday's program that's obvious from the still photos we had is that his leg plant's all messed up, but you just don't know what's causing what. But it doesn't take much to get into a kicker's head. Let's just put it that way. It's not easy once the negativity starts. I don't know what they're paying Jacoby Brissett. I don't know what that contract looked like. I really don't.
Browns salary.
Do not know. And the idea that Brady wants to play until he's 50 is crazy, and he'll have to go someplace else because they're not going to bring him back there. If they do, they're crazy. And again, can the Browns afford Jacoby as a backup? That again, you got to have somebody, and if he's comfortable with the organization, maybe you can sit down and work something out with him. If he wants an opportunity to start on a bad football team, and I'll be honest with you, the injuries that happen in this game and the lifespan of the people who play it, I'd almost rather earn millions of dollars to sit more often than not than have to be out with a bad football team like the Panthers and get my brain splattered. Go ahead, Tony.
Brissett signed a 1-year, $4.6 million contract, so he's a free agent after the season anyways.
Yeah, well,
what's matter is if he is, taken to inflation.
Do you really think? I don't know how many teams are going to come flying for him.
Yeah,
as a backup, yes.
As a backup, is he going to go to the Browns and be like, "I want 1 year, $8 million"?
Well, the way it is, everything's got its price, and I don't blame any player with the dangers of the game trying to get to their worth.
And if you're the Browns, you got to be tread lightly because, of course, you don't have much of a draft for the next couple of years. So you got to, try and improve this, portable John of a team.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Oh, now, and this is a little scary. They want to develop Kellen Mond. That would make sense from Stefanski's perspective. But who knows how long Stefanski will be around? I really don't know. I want to point out at 7 o'clock, and I got to get out of here. 7:30, the Cavaliers play the Raptors. The Raptors, I don't know. Some of their players are in front of me here, not sure whether they're playing. The big one is Siakam, who's with a right adductor strain, is questionable. There's also Scotty Barnes, who was the rookie of the year last year, with a knee sprain, questionable. So if Siakam's not playing, I think he is. I think he will play. Cavaliers have a problem without Jared Allen, and starting Robin Lopez is a big mistake. He's too slow. And I think that, it's going to be interesting because the Cavaliers were so horrible yesterday. And it's funny, a friend of mine said they got groupie legs. That's not droopy, but groupie. They were having a fuck fest or something in Detroit because they had nothing. I mean, every shot they shot from behind the arc was short. Every player. It must have been a gangbang. I'm serious. That's just bizarre. I mean, even Dean Wade, he was along for the ride. He was throwing everything up short. I mean, it's impossible that every player on the team had an off night. And, and again, going into that game, Detroit didn't have what few players they didn't have. And they looked like a G League team and were beating the Cavs for the vast majority of the night. They just didn't know how to win. And they tired out at the end of the game. In the fourth quarter, their legs totally went because they were coming off of a West Coast trip. But you go up to Toronto and you play like that, you're going to lose by 25, 30 points. You can't do that. And you're right, Bronk. Detroit sucked at the free throw line. They missed 12 free throws, and that's absolutely game-changing. That's finding a way to lose. But it was a bad game. The Cavaliers are going to have to do better tonight if they want a chance to be in this game, close in the game. And it would sure help if Siakam wasn't out there because he gives us grief. He's active, he rebounds, and without our big body out there, it's going to be very, very hard to stop him. And, and Scotty Barnes then will become Evan Mobley's problem. I want to see Evan Mobley stop dribbling the ball, and I want to see him step out. If you're going to do a screen, step out and give him the ball behind the arc. He made 2 threes, and very important threes, in the game yesterday, and we need him to develop a mid-range and a 3-ball because him driving to the basket is a turnover waiting to happen. We'll see what happens tonight at 7:30. I want to thank everybody. Bronk, Allen is still hurt. He's got a contusion, a back contusion. And bone bruises, man, let me tell you, they're slow healing. So, I want to say, B. Moore Ravens Jr., Mr. Moohead. Let's see what we have here. I put some of my friends down with your channel. They love it. They say you're so funny, you keep them laughing. I told them, cooler than a fan. Well, you got to understand, it isn't the Ravens that I don't like. I just don't like players who are so self-satiated. They picked him. They helped make him what he is today. Lamar Jackson owes the organization at least the respect to either decide on a contract or not, but not to just fucking ignore them. I just don't like the way that whole business thing is going down. And he hasn't played up to the worth that he wants. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And I'm hoping the Cavs come out. And it's the good Cavs that we see. It'll be the hustling Cavs. We're going to need all of it just to be in that game. We're on a back-to-back here, and it's going to be a break-your-back thing if it gets out of hand early. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to this edition of Moohead Radio. Back again Friday, as we'll be talking about, oh, yes, the debut of Deshaun Watson. Until then, hasta la vista, Pasture Heads. Good night.
Moo.
Good night.